Hello and welcome to this episode of Politics Weekly with me, Jack Evans. In this episode, we will be talking about the Manchester mayoral by-election, who succeeded Andy Burnham, the now Prime Minister, as the Mayor of Greater Manchester. We'll also be talking about the Clacton by-election, which was caused when Nigel Farage chose to step down as the MP for Clacton, only to fight back the seat and win. Spoiler alert. All in this episode of Politics Weekly.
You are fake news.
We're going to build a wall.
We are America, second to none, and we own the finish line.
Serve the country I love.
It is done. We are out.
You must stay at home. Our future together is golden.
I am a fighter and not a quitter.
That I am resigning.
Ilan.
I am sorry.
Why don't you wear a suit?
Maybe something better, I don't.
The end of two-party politics.
We'll start off now with the Greater Manchester mayoral by-election, where Bev Craig, the leader of Manchester City Council, won as the Labour candidate. She received her first preference votes, 251,449. The Reform candidate received 111,928. The Green candidate, 64,968. The Restore Britain candidate, remember Restore Britain, this new party founded by Rupert Lowe, the MP for Great Yarmouth, the guy who split away from Reform after he was kicked out the party rather unceremoniously. They received 46,289 votes. The Conservative candidate, 41,021 votes. The Liberal Democrat candidate, 14,702 votes, and Independent Marcus Farmer received 2,969 votes. Now, because of the system in Greater Manchester, you're also allowed a second preference, and then the two people with the highest amount of first preference go to the second round, where they will then count the second preference votes. Bev Craig, the Labour candidate, received 58,076 second preference votes, whereas the Reform candidate received 45,250 second preference votes, bringing Bev Craig's Labour total to 309,525, to Reform's 157,178. Now that is quite a large difference of about 150,000 votes. So yeah, everybody was predicting it would be a tight race, but no, 150,000 votes between them. That's quite good for Labour, the party who have been in pretty much decline ever since they won the general election, have now peaked under their new leader, Andy Burnham, who used to have this very position. He has been succeeded by his fellow Labour candidate, Bev Craig, who was the leader of the Manchester City Council, which is different to Greater Manchester. Manchester City is a city within Greater Manchester. Yes, she was the leader of that city council. She was also a member of the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, as all of the leaders of the councils in Greater Manchester are. She had a portfolio as part of that. and she was selected to be the Labour candidate, and she won quite convincingly by that measure. It's interesting. We see that the Greens came in third and the Liberal Democrats came second to last, which is interesting. The Liberal Democrats have kind of been always seen as the third party. I mean, to be fair, the Conservatives are always second or first, and they came just ahead of the Liberal Democrats and behind Restore Britain. Marlon West, the candidate for Restore Britain, a party that was set up this year, whereas Reform was set up in 2019, and that's still seen as a upstart radical party. But no, Marlon West, a party from a party that was set up in March, sweeps to fourth to last, dead in the middle by the looks of things. Yeah, that is an impressive amount. 46,000 votes for a brand new party. It definitely shows you that they're giving Reform a run for their money. I mean, think about it. There'd be maybe Reform wouldn't have won if they had the Restore votes, but there'd be 203,000 or so votes, which would only place them 106,000 behind the Labour candidate, instead of so far behind that they are 150,000 votes behind. So that means that Bev Craig is the new Mayor of Greater Manchester. Moving now to the Clacton by-election. Let's get some context on this. So the Clacton by-election was called by Nigel Farage because ever since the late bit of April, he has been having a bit of a rough time with questions about his finances. He received a 5 million donation from Mr. Christopher Harborne, who is a crypto billionaire guy who lives in Thailand or something. Yeah, so that's his first lot of finances that were revealed, and then there was a second wave to this story where it was revealed that somebody who had been put in prison in America, who had been the right-hand man of Nigel Farage, Mr. George Cottrell, had given Nigel Farage entire security teams and social media teams, paid for them all. Farage claims that this was just that this was his personal matters. It came before he was an MP, so it doesn't matter. The parliamentary standards rules state that he must declare anything in a year of advance of becoming an MP. He did not do so. So that's the question. I think, from what I've seen, Reform are trying to frame this as, they don't like Nigel having money. I don't think that's the problem here. We just want to see it, and they've been like, oh, Keir Starmer, glasses, Lord Ali, da 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 da, which is fair enough. Fair enough. I completely understand that, but the difference was it was registered, and politicians need to be transparent, and that's just the whole system. And Labour, Conservatives, they register these things, whereas Farage just didn't. £5 million in the year before he became an MP, just completely, wholly unregistered. So Mr. Farage resigns his seat. He claims it's going to be a people versus the establishment by-election, just like that. But little does he know, the rest of the establishment do not stand. The Conservative Party, Labour, the Greens, the Liberal Democrats, and even the new upstart Restore Britain refuse to stand because they think that this by-election is a complete and utter farce. But guess who does stand though? His lordship, as he was. Now he's his countship, Count Binface, the guy who has been running in by-elections ever since he was the candidate Lord Buckethead in the Maidenhead constituency, Theresa May's old constituency, in 2017. Now, this is very interesting because the media instantly pick up on this. There are no main parties other than Reform standing at this by-election, and the main opponent to Nigel Farage is Count Binface. Instantly, he's on the airwaves, just like that. We have Labour pulling out, then the Conservatives, then the Liberal Democrats, then Restore, then we get the Greens saying, oh, well, we'll leave it up to the constituency Green Party. They pull out. So now we've just got Count Binface. So the media instantly pick up on this. Social media picks up on this. Foreign media pick up on this. The Australian Broadcasting Company having a right good time with this story, as you would when you've got a bin fighting a seat against the leader of the biggest polling party. So yeah, then you've got Count Binface. He goes on the airwaves. You've got him on the Today programme when he's asked, why should people vote for you? His response was, well, I'm not Nigel Farage, which got clipped about 500,000 times and put on every social media channel possible about 2,000 times. Yeah, so Mr. Binface, Jonathan Harvey, as he is, he becomes the main opponent of Nigel Farage. Now, there are kind of two camps to Mr. Binface's election. There are those who think, well, yeah, so I'm going to vote for Count Binface because I don't want Nigel Farage. This is my objection to Nigel Farage. I could, if I wanted to, I could scribble all over my ballot paper, but no, I'm going to vote for a guy with a bin on his head. And that was their argument. The other half of Count Binface's camp was those who thought he's got a serious message here. Like, he may be a guy with a bin on his head, but like, how else is he going to stand out, right? So he has got some reasonable things on here, and he would actually be a representative of the people of Clacton, unlike what most people say about Nigel Farage. Count Binface wrote on his manifesto for Clacton that he would spend more time in Clacton than in Washington, D.C., which was a dig at Nigel Farage, how much time he spends with Mr. Donald J. Trump of America instead of in his constituency. So yeah, that's Count Binface, and then this actually becomes a historic election. You have none of the main parties standing, but you've got 34 candidates on the ballot paper. This is the biggest ballot paper in any UK general election ever. Not general, parliamentary election ever. 34 candidates. The monster raving loony party, the main satire party that predated Binface and Lord Buckethead and all of these characters, they stand 3 candidates. Now this is a move that they're perfectly entitled to make, but it is a bit weird. They stand their leader, Howling Lord Hope. They also stand Nick the Incredible Flying Brick, and they also stand Baron von Thunderclap. As the Monster Raving Loony Party do, they didn't receive many votes. Nick the Incredible Flying Brick was about 28, I think. Howling Lord Hope, 18, and I believe Baron von Thunderclap received 15 votes. In third place, though, we have John Stevens, who received 492 votes. But Nigel Farage does end up winning the constituency with 22,239 votes. Count Binface, 9,456 votes. 55? No, maybe 58. I can't read. Yeah, so that is a massive number for a guy with a bin on his head. Nigel Farage then kicks off another scandal. Not another one you would have thought, Mrs. Brenda from Bristol or whatever her name is. Not another one. But yes, he does. Another mini scandal at 2 o'clock in the morning. He refuses to go to the count. He absolutely refuses. He says that the Essex police have told him that there's a credible threat against him. Essex police then come out against that through the media channels, saying that they did no such thing. They did not give any such advice to any candidate at the election. We then have the monitoring the returning officer, monitoring officer of the acting monitoring officer say that there is that he has been in constant communication with Essex Police and that the venue is completely and utterly secure, and he is confident of that. So we then have that kick off at 2 o'clock in the morning, and that debate stretches on with them having to Reform having to roll back on that, with people like Richard Tice, the deputy leader of Reform, who is in his own financial scandal at the moment. They say that it was advice given by Nigel Farage's security team, of which was probably paid by George Cottrell. Yeah, so that is that. And then Nigel Farage becomes the new MP for Clacton once again, although he actually needs to be kind of sworn in again, yada yada yada, which he will do in September when Parliament rises. Yeah, and then we have Reform coming out on the airways going, Nigel Farage has won against this uni party candidate. Now, I was laughing my head off because the person they sent out to deliver this message was none other than Lee Anderson, the chairman of Reform and the chief whip of Reform. They sent out Lee Anderson to say this is a uni candidate. Count Binface is a uni candidate that we have defeated. Now, I find this completely and utterly laughable because Lee Anderson himself was a long-time member of the Labour Party before becoming a Labour candidate for a council seat. He won that council seat. He was then suspended from the Labour Party. He was an independent councillor. He then joined the Conservative Party. He stood for election somewhere else as a Conservative candidate for a council position. He won. He was then a Conservative councillor. He then became a Conservative MP. He was then suspended as a Conservative MP to sit as an independent MP before becoming a Reform MP. I find this so funny that they sent out Lee Anderson, of all people, to go, this is a uni-party message. Count Binface is a uni-party candidate, where Lee Anderson has been a Labour councillor, a Conservative councillor, an independent councillor, a Conservative MP, and an independent MP, before now being a Reform MP. I think that is so. They probably could have picked a better person to go out and say, it's the uni party, it's the uni party, oh, I'm Reform forever, da da da. How horrible everybody else is. But everybody else in Reform has always been ex-Conservatives anyway, so that would be nigh on impossible. Yes, so they send out Lee Anderson to go, we have won against the uni party, which was hilarious. But yeah, Nigel Farage claims that Count Binface was the uni party candidate. It was all a conspiracy by the parties to send Count Binface to Clacton, which I think is just a bit silly. He claims it's a people versus the establishment by-election, which is interesting because it's either Count Binface is the candidate of the people and he's the establishment, considering he's been in politics longer than Kemi Badenoch and Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves and all of these famous people. I think maybe even James Cleverly, who's been kicking around a while, but even before him. Yeah, so Nigel Farage has been in politics since the late 90s, early 2000s. But apparently he claims he's the candidate of the people and he's versus Count Binface, a man dressed as a bin who is the establishment, of course, because all of the establishment figures would send a guy who claims to be from the planet Sigma 9 to Clacton to fight Nigel Farage. Makes complete and total sense. Yeah, so it's either Count Binface is the candidate of the people, which is more likely, because we all love him, and that's not even partisan to say at this at the moment, because everybody does. And Nigel Farage is the establishment, or Nigel Farage is the candidate of the people, and a guy with a bin on his head is the candidate of the establishment. So that is the Clacton by-election for you people. Thank you very much for listening and watching to this episode of Politics Weekly. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you very much.